bring greetings to you, all of you that will listen to my voice across the world, especially Biafrans and those who have not yet keyed into the struggle for the restoration of Biafran nation. My name is Obinna Menokwa. I am a Biafra. I am a proponent of self-determination. I am an ardent advocate and supporter of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. I believe that power of governance and leadership rests with the people and not with the elected few. My mission tonight is to humbly share 7 reasons we want to restore Biafra nation. There are many reasons, but I will focus on 7 today. These reasons will provide clarity to some of your doubt. They will provide answers to some of the questions you may have in your heart. Such questions like, why do we agitate for freedom? Why do we want to exit Nigeria? Why do we ask for referendum to decide whether to be part of Nigeria or not? Why do we want to restore the Republic of Biafra that we lost between 1967 to 1970? Why do we not support the coinage of one Nigeria? The good news today is that all these questions have been answered by a series of enlightenment broadcasts by one of the greatest mass movement leaders in the world, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And some other pro-Biafrans have also helped in this regard. Radio Biafra presenters across London, US, Middle East, and so on and so forth, they have also assisted in bringing enlightenment to what I'm about to share with you tonight. What are these reasons that made us agitate, that made us want the freedom of our people? I will break them down. And by the time I finish, when you meet those one Nigerianists, you don't have to bother anymore on providing reasons why we agitate. Just share this message to them and they will be left. They will be left dumbfounded. They will be left speechless, and they will not just go mad. They will become proponents of this agitation. Number 1, different value system. We have different value system with Nigerians. Let me share this with you. No country in the world is built first on different value system or orientations. Countries are created first along tribal ethnic value system and orientations. Not even the United States, you think, that had multinational. They don't. The United States was not built on different value system. Not even United Kingdom. Not France. Not any European countries. Not even China. Not India. Not Russia. And not even any of the countries from Middle East. For instance, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, UAE, etc. but to mention but a few. None of them were built in different value system. All these countries that I mentioned and others started first on a value system laid down by their founding fathers. They later grew into accepting and accommodating other divergent individuals or ideas, but with strict compliance to the value system set in place by their forefathers or by their originators. I'm going to use United States as an example. The American founding fathers, people that you're aware of, like George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, to mention but a few, together with several other key players of their time, they structured the democratic government of the United States and left a legacy that has shaped the world. These individuals I mentioned, they share the same value system because they were coming from Europe, mostly from the United Kingdom, some part of Germany, some part of France, and the rest of them. They share a common value system, and that is what they use to start off the 13 colonies of the United States that progressed into 50 states. I don't want to dwell so much on the United States. The reason why I'm bringing them as an example is because so many of these one Nigerianists will use that as an example and tell you that America had multinational, multi-diversified ethnic groups. No, they don't. Later on, America started accommodating other views and other ideology, but they did not allow them to change their common value system. They welcomed the Muslim, but they never allowed them to bring in their religion to change who America is. They welcome every form of human being, but you have to adapt with their value system. When you meet them, tell them, this is why we agitate, because we do not share the same value system with the Fulanese. We do not share the same value system with the majority of them in the upper north. That is why Nigeria will never work. That's why we want Biafra, and Biafra is our home. The second on my list of the reason why we want Biafra is because we want to restore our identity and dignity. We have lost our identity under Nigeria. We have become cows and cattle. We now reason like zombies and wild animals. We have more regards to individual material wealth than for human beings. We are selfish, arrogant. Our elders, who once command respect from the young ones, have lost respect because they have become tools of oppression. They have desecrated the honor, the privilege, and dignity bestowed on them. Let me tell you what our personalities and identity were before we were subsumed by the Nigerian cancerism and virus. Our personalities start with an adequate appreciation of the communal role of the individual in maintaining societal balance, peace, prosperity, and moral transparency. Then it was impossible to think of the individual as different from the community. The interests of the individual are concomitant with that of the community. Our lost identity and dignity. Let me share with you that our aspirations, our dreams, and our hopes for a better future and a fulfilled life are dialectically tied to the communal apron cords of what is good for the community. Our communal value system are the structural principles and powers that defined our identity, integrity, and inner self. Fellow Biafrans and lovers of freedom, these value systems become the embodiment of the universal merited dignity of humanity. We say in Igbo law, onye nka bụ mmadụ. What it means is that in those days, which mean this person has human dignity and lives it in his conduct. Today, we watch this value system diminish because we have been affected by the Nigerian virus introduced into the political system by Fulani and cohort. And this is destroying who we are, is destroying the humanity in us. We do no longer see ourselves anymore as members of the community. Pride has consumed us. Self-centeredness has become our bone of contention. Our community is full of traitors, treachery, whose individualistic mission is to consume our commonwealth. We destroy our community. We are ashamed of our identity. Sometimes deny our identity. We see ourselves as either aliens or enemies. Remember, after the Biafran genocidal war between 1967 to 1970, in the words of Njoko, in his writing that he called Obiani in 2009, I quote, "The people were thoroughly demoralized, psychologically disoriented, materially impoverished and politically marooned. Their future appeared permanently obliterated. Then to be Igbo became a taboo, and some Igbo groups attempted to hide Igbo identity by disguising their Igbo name. Take an example of what is going on in Iguacha. A sitting governor is denying his identity in Wike. I'm going to take that away for now. Remember, according to Ezani in 2013, he stated that in Biafra, Africa died because Igbo achievements during the war could have helped to develop the African continent. I shed tears when I see that we've lost our identity and dignity in Nigeria. He makes me cry. He makes me rise up. He makes me do what I'm doing today. When they ask you, tell them that we want Biafra and we want to exit Nigeria to restore our identity, to restore our pride, to restore our dignity, and to restore our ingenuities. This is why we want to restore Biafra nation. Number 3 on my list on why we want to restore Biafra nation and why we fight for freedom is because we are fighting for survival and preservation of our lives. When they ask you, tell them we are fighting to live. That in Nigeria we are all dead. Let me shock you. Biafra lives have been sacrificed to preserve the so-called one Nigeria by the Nigerian state. We have paid more than the ultimate price to keep this monstrous entity called Nigeria. 1. Biafrans have been ruthlessly massacred since 1945 to this present day. With agony and tears rolling down my cheeks, I will highlight some of the major massacres of Biafrans by the Nigerian state starting from 1945. In Jos, 1945, we were massacred. Massacred in Kanu, 1953. In 1966, before Biafran genocidal war, over 60,000 Biafrans were massacred. Among them were doctors, engineers, etc., who were circled at one of the northern airports when they returned from abroad, and they were murdered in a cold blood. Between 1960 to 1970, up to 5 million Biafrans were killed in the Biafran genocidal war. Around 3 million were children and women who died of starvation due to blockade by the Nigerian state and Britain. It was recorded was genocide after the Jewish Holocaust of 1933 to 1941. In Kano 1980, we were massacred. Meduguri 1920, massacred in hundreds. Massacred in Jimata 1984. Massacred in Gombe 1985. Thousands were killed and slaughtered in Zaria 1987. They massacred us in Zangon, Qatar in 1992. Massacred us in thousands in Funtua in 1993. Massacred us in Kanu in 1994. During Kaduna riot in 2000, they massacred over 5,000 and destroyed our properties. Same 2000, they massacred us in Kafanchan. In 2021, they massacred us in Kaduna, Bauchi, Katsina, Kanu in the same year. What about Meduguri? What about Jos Maiden Crisis massacre in 2001? In 2022, they massacred us in hundreds in Kaduna. Massacred us in Jos in 2008. They continued massacring us. Remember, in 2011, when our core members in the post-elections were massacred and murdered for no just cause. What about Jos 2010? Christmas Eve massacre, where hundreds were killed, leading to Christmas Day celebration? What about Mubi in January 6, 2012? The one that brought more tears to my eyes is in 2015, when they massacred IPOB members, our brothers, our sisters in Biafran land. They were massacred in Onitsha in December 2nd, 2015. Massacred in Aba, February 2016. Iguacha massacre. Enugu massacre. Ebonyi massacre. Ozowane massacre. Izei local government massacre. Ishielu massacre. What about Obibo massacre on 6 November 2020? What about the cold-blooded murder of Ikonso and other ESM volunteer members on 25th April 2021? These massacres brought tears to my eyes. They brought pains to my heart. They murdered Ikonso and other ESM members in Nigeria joint security operations that involved military, police, air force, etc. Why did they do that? Simply because Ikonso and co. we are protecting our farmlands, our bushes, our communities. They murdered them because they were protecting our mothers and our women against killing and rape by Fulani terroristmen, and our children from kidnapping. Our only crime was because we are exercising our rights of self-determination and freedom, which is enshrined under the United Nations Charter of 1945. Our only crime was because we protested against injustice meted against our people in Nigeria state. That was our only crime. That is why we want to exit Nigeria. That is why we want to restore the Republic of Biafra by any means necessary, so that our people will be safe and free in our own land. When they ask you, tell them we have paid more than the ultimate price, that we want Biafra because we are fighting for survival and preservation of our lives. Tell them so they may hear. Number 4 of why we want Biafra nation is because of the injustice and inequality against Biafrans. By the time I'm done with you today, those of you who have not keyed into this struggle will roll down their sleeves and fight dirty. We want to restore Biafra because of the injustice and inequality against Biafrans. After the genocidal war, Biafran war, that lasted for 3 years between 67-70, that caused the death of 5 million Biafrans by the Nigerian state and the British government. The Nigerian state declared no victor, no vanquish. They came up with a policy of reintegration and reconciliation instead of rebuilding the ruins, trust, and pursuing true unity and integration of Biafrans into Nigerian state. They see us as a conquered territory, as a conquered people. They continued with the British divide and rule, Fulani specifically, with the British divide and rule policy, to systematically isolate us, emasculate us, and exclude us from seat of power at central government. I cry when I read this. They remove Biafran story from our history books. Their plan was to keep us uninformed, keep us down, keep our voice silenced forever. Their plan was to avoid any form of agitation, uprising, resistance, or fight for freedom. They have deliberately repressed us, marginalized us, and discriminated against us since 1960, despite using our oil revenues and human capital to develop Nigerian state across the federation, while our needs, region remain neglected. There is no federal government presence in Biafran land, especially in the southeast. No operational refineries, no steel plant, no cement firms, no industry, no seaport. River Niger has been made ineffective. The southeast has become systematically deindustrialized. International companies are deliberately not allowed to situate in Igbo land. They only can have distribution centers. The only industry enterprises in the East are built by the Easterners in Nnewi, Aba, Onitsha, and Enugu. Biafra businesses and factories either been crippled in the case of Ibeto or neglected in the case of Innocent and others. Their mission, according to Ahmedu Bello, if you reckon, is to use us as a conquered territory, ground us to zero, and make us destitute like the Hausas in Nigeria, in the northern Nigeria. To shock you further, out of the so-called 6 regions, Southeast was excluded from railway plan of the federal government by Buhari administration. And this project were championed by Amechi, Chibika Amechi, whom they were using as a stooge and other stooges. I don't want to dwell on that for now. Federal government has systematically made it difficult for Easterners to do commercial businesses, even in the East. The federal roads in the East are some of the worst in Nigeria. As this is not enough, they militarize our region. Army and police presence are found everywhere in Igbo land, in Biafra land, all over the Biafran land. In all eastern region, they mount hundreds of checkpoints, roadblocks to make it difficult to have commercial activities. They extort money from motorists and drivers. Southeast in Biafra has become an occupied territory. They continue to intimidate, suppress, and kill us for no just reason or at any slightest disagreement. Nigeria is not functioning. Nigeria will never function for anyone. Nigeria is soiled with blood, and blood that Nigerian states has spilled is crying every day. There is pain, agony, and hardship everywhere in Biafra land and across Nigeria in general. No justice, no fairness, no equity. When they ask you, tell them, this is why we resist. This is why we want freedom. This is why we want to restore Biafra nation. And we will do this by any means necessary to stop this injustice and discrimination against our people. Number 5 on my list. Why we agitate, why we want the freedom of the Biafran people is because we want to take back our destiny and control. Why do we want to take back control of our lives and destiny? Nigeria consumes life. Nigeria is a killer of destiny. Nigeria kills destiny. Nigeria is a killer of humanity, a killer of creativity, a killer of innovation, a killer of civilization. Nigeria is a retrogressive country. Nigeria is not a place for progressive minded people that want civilization, modernization, freedom of speech, rule of law, and tolerance. Nigeria is far from it. Nigeria holds no future for us. No matter how you try to make it work, Fulani will never allow it to work because they believed they cannot compete with the South if it works. They believe they are disadvantaged in every area of human capital. They would rather keep Nigeria in abysmal, horrible, lawless, and corruptible state that favors and keep them in power. Nigeria is not fixable. Stop dreaming. Wake up from your slumber. Wake up from your nightmare. Nigeria can never work. The only people that believe Nigeria will work are less than 1%, and they are politicians and those stooges benefiting from the corruption in the country. Nigeria has broken the trust of all the ethnic nationalities. Nigeria is stained in blood of innocent people. Nigeria is a parasite, a cancerous virus that has no cure. The only cure for Nigeria is to kill the virus and let it die a natural death. to allow all the ethnic nationalities take back control, including Biafra. When they ask you, tell them this is why we resist. This is why we fight for Biafra to come. When we say we fight with knowledge. We fight with empowerment. We fight with enlightenment. That is what will bring Biafra. When they ask you, tell them this is why we want freedom. This is why we want to restore Biafra nation by any means necessary, so that we can take back our destiny and control given to us from above. Number 6 on my list is systematic failures in Nigeria. Tonight is a night of lessons and enlightenment. I want you to be equipped with a lot of information so that you can disseminate them when you meet those one Nigerianists. Share with them the reasons why we want to live. In 21st century, people reason, people dialogue, people discuss. And those with the highest capacity or capability of conviction wins the argument. Arguments are not won by bullets and guns. Tell them the reason why we want Biafra is because of the systematic failures in Nigeria. Nigeria is designed to fail from the amalgamation of 1918 by Lord Frederick Lugard. The system failure has been perennial from inception to date. Election fraud, absence of rule of law, terrorism, armed banditry, police brutality, extrajudicial killings, ethnic bigotry, and cleansing, snatching of people's land, slaughtering of innocent people when they protest. The biggest part of it all is the ethnic diversity differences and disunity, which culminated into prejudice and loyalty to ethnicity first before country. I want to share with you an extraction I got from the report of 2016 to 2017 by International Development Committee, House of Commons, England. During assessment of Nigeria's systems, they stated that the prevailing political economy results in a systematic failure of the state to provide the public goods on which poverty reduction depends, quality public services, public infrastructure, a conducive environment for investment and growth, and personal security. Even international community, they know the problem of Nigeria even more than you, who is fighting for one Nigeria. I'll shock you. According to World Poverty Clock Statistics extract, in June 2021, 86.8 million Nigerians live below extreme poverty rate of $1.90. That is $950 naira per day. Remember, they live below extreme poverty, not even extreme poverty level, below it. I'll shock you again. According to the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Fulani, Sadia Farouk, a Fulani woman, Nigeria has spent over $5 billion since 2016 to date to fight poverty. But still, Nigeria is the poverty headquarter of the world after overtaking India. Remember, what we have fought, what we have spent to fight poverty is more than what 6 or 7 countries in West Africa had put together, had used to fight their own. Yet, we still make the poverty headquarter of the world. Let me shock you. In Nigeria today, no job for the timid youth, no equal opportunity, killings and insecurity on rampage. Every part of the country called Nigeria is in chaotic wreck, ravaged by either state-sponsored terrorism, Fulani terror killers, DSS abductions, and extrajudicial killings. Everywhere is bleeding of blood, ruins, and people scampering to escape. the monstrous animal kingdom. Nigeria is ranked third most impacted by terrorism in the world. It's sad. Let me shock you again. Global Terrorism Index named Nigeria Fulani militant group as the fourth deadliest known terrorist group in the world. They are the one at the helms of affairs of the federal government, leading the nation. One Nigerian is, listen to me, they are the one controlling power. Let me shock you. The Fulani-led federal government agenda is very simple. You don't need a sorcerer to tell you. We can tell you. Emasculate all ethnic nationalities, impoverish the people to weaken their resolve and control their destiny and conquer their lands and introduce and Fulanize them and introduce Islam. The system failure in Nigeria is purposefully perpetuated by successive Fulani government, especially Buhari government. Role at this time is to Fulanize everyone and instituted Islamic State against the will of every ethnic nationalities. That's why we resist. When they ask you, tell them this is why we resist. This is why we fight. That's why we want out of this anarchical and zoological state. That's why we want freedom. And that's why we want to restore Biafra nation by any means necessary to enable us build a new nation where people are sovereign. A nation where social, economic, and political systems work for the interest of everyone and not interest of few. This is why we want Biafra. I'm going to share with you the seventh reason why we want Biafra. The seventh reason why we want Biafra might possibly make you cry, and I'm not sure I can finish it on this episode, but I will try my best to bring it up. Number 7 is because of endemic corruption from the inception of the country to date. Permit me, I am going to share with you in a chronological order from pre-colonialism to colonialism and to post-colonialism, so that you can understand why we want this cancerous virus called Nigeria dead. We don't want human dead. We want the nation, the entity murdered. We want the entity dead, so that people can be free to live their life and live up to their potentials. I'm going to shock you. According to Wikipedia, corruption is an antisocial attitude awarding improper privileges contrary to legal and moral norms, and impairs the authorities' capacity to secure the welfare of all nations. I will shock you. In 2012, Nigeria was estimated to have lost over $400 billion to corruption since the independence. In another episode, I'm going to analyze all of these numbers, show you how much they're worth in naira, and I'm going to show you, if they were used judiciously, where Nigeria would have been today if they were used judiciously without corruption. But it's not what I'm going to do today. I will continue. Nigeria was ranked 144th in the 180 countries listed in Transparency International Corruption Index. Endemic corruption. Vote rigging by political parties in elections is widespread, and corruption is endemic within government. Business arrangement and family loyalties dominate governmental appointments, paving the way for politicians, officials, and their business associates, who together make up the ruling class to ensure that they all become wealthier through behind the scenes agreements and the awarding of profitable contract to favor supporters. That is what you see every part of the nation, in every state. It is a politics of who gets what, when, and how. Politics of who is loyal to me, that I will give the money, I will give the contract, and make other people impoverish. Corruption runs through every level of Nigerian government, from massive contract fraud at the top through petty bribery, money laundering schemes, embezzlement, seizing salary from fake workers. It is estimated that corruption within the state apparatus cost the country billions of dollars every single year. Corruption in Nigeria predates independence of 1960. Some of you don't know. You think corruption started in 1960. No, it predates. But I'm going to shock you tonight. Let's start with pre-independence and the First Republic corruption. I'll start with Azikiwe corruption investigation in 1945 over the purchase of ACB, that is African Continental Bank, where most of the paid up capital of the African Continental Bank were from the Eastern Regional Financial Corporation. See where it started. I'll shock you again. In Western Nigeria, politicians like Adegoke Adelabo was investigated following charges of political corruption leveled against him by the opposition. In the northern region, corruption allegation leveled against some native authorities officials in Borno. Later, it was the British administration that was accused of corrupt practices in the result of elections, which enthroned a Fulani political leadership in Kano. British government has been playing dirty. They have been the architect of all the problems that you are facing. They are the founding fathers of all your corrupt problems. Let me shock you again. Reports later linking the British authorities to electoral irregularities were discovered during that time. You can read this up. Let's move down to Gowon administration of August 1960 to July 1975. In 1975, a corruption scandal surrounding the importation of cement engulfed many officials of the Defense Ministry and the Central Bank of Nigeria. Officials were later accused of falsifying ship manifestos and inflating the amount of cement to be purchased. It is not today that contract inflation has been with us from the origin. There is complete failure to deliver social services, the endemic problem of power supply, the failure to defeat state-sponsored terrorism and Boko Haram, and total collapse of infrastructure are all linked to private and public sector corruption of a grand scale in Nigeria. Remember, I'm only sharing a summary of each administration, not to give you details. Let's move to Murtala Muhammad administration of 1975 to February 1976. It was short. His administration was made. It was actually seen as a reformist. He brought in reformist changes, but did not last long. So we wouldn't dwell much on his administration. Let's move down to Obasanjo administration from February 1976 to September 1979. OBJ, the big boy. Major scandals and corruption were involved in the international telecommunication from ITT, led by Chief MKO Abiola in Nigeria, which General Olusegun Obasanjo was associated with. What about the Operation Feed the Nation program corruption scandals? What about land grab scandals under the land use decree implemented by General Olusegun Obasanjo? He used that as conduit to reward cronies, his friends, and his new famous Otafam Nigeria was supposedly a project born out of this scandal. They deceived you. Let's leave Obasanjo alone and move to Shagari administration of October 1979 to December 1983. In his regime, corruption was deemed pervasive during his administration of Shehu Shagari. Let me shock you. During that time, a few federal buildings mysteriously caught fire after investigators started to probe the finances of the official working in the building. Investigation into the collapse of the defunct Johnson Matty Bank of London shed light on some of the abuses carried on during this Second Republic of Shagari regime in 1979. The bank acted as a conduit to transfer hard currency for some party members in Nigeria. A few leading officials and politicians had amassed large amounts of money. They sought to transfer the money out of the country with the help of Asian importers by issuing import licenses. The wickedness of the wickedness of your past leaders and present leaders is second to none. No nation is as wicked as they are. In 1981, a rice shortage led to accusation of corruption against the MPA government under Shehu Shagari's regime. I'm going to let him alone and move to Buhari administration of December 1983 to August 1995. I'm coming to him to present day. But let's deal with him first when he was a military junta. What about when he was presented for the election in 2016 or is it 2015, I suppose? They were telling you that he's a saint. Oh, he's incorruptible. You were deceived. But let me show you what he did during his regime. What about the suitcases corruption scandal which involved Atiku Abubakar, the then custom leader? These two were the one, protesting to become your president. They have murdered you through corruption when they had the opportunity to hold public offices. Let me shock you. The 53 suitcases saga arose in 1984 during the currency change exercise. Those suitcases were ferried through the Murtala Mohammed Airport without customs check by soldiers, behest of Major Mustafa Jokolo, who is the aide-de-camp to General Muhammadu Buhari, with Atiku Abubakar, the area controller of customs, in charge of the Murtala Mohammed Airport. When they ask you who destroyed Nigeria, it is the Fulanis, and they are changing the narratives. But I'm going to come to them later on. I'm going to leave Buhari for now. I'll come back to him when I'm dealing with his present government. Let me go to Babangida administration of August 1985 to August 1993. IBB officially legalized corruption and made it a policy of the state. Think about the Gulf War windfall corruption scandals, estimated to be $12.4 billion then. He rigged the only successful election in the history of Nigeria on June 12, 1993. He lives in a very exquisite mansion in his hometown, in his home state of Niger. IBB routinely disbursed, during his time, he routinely disbursed vehicles and cash gifts to people to earn loyalty. And the discipline of the military force eroded. That's when the military force discipline finished. It broke down. Then the term IBB boys emerged. That's when it surfaced. That's when it began. That's when, remember, you start hearing IBB boys. That's when that name surfaced. The name, people that they call IBB boys, they are fronts for the head of states in the business realm. They are IBB loyalists who transact dirty deals, from drug dealing with money laundering and etc. Remember, General Ibrahim Babangida used various government privatization initiatives to reward friends and cronies. That is how Nigeria was balkanized, destroyed. Fulani. This gave rise to the current class of nouvelle riche in Nigeria. IBB corruption ranges from banking to oil and import licenses. IBB used these favors to raise cash for himself and his family, and he is regarded as one of the richest ex-rulers of Nigeria with significant investment in Globacom. I'll leave you to make that research yourself. Let me move on to Abacha administration of November 1993 to 1998. Sani Abacha's death revealed the global nature of of what we call crime. In other words, graft. French investigations of bribes paid to government officials to ease the award of a gas plant construction in Nigeria revealed that the level of official corruption reveals the level of official corruption in the country. It was massive after the investigation by the French. The investigation led to the freezing of accounts containing about $100 million. Think about this. Let me shock you again. 2000, 2 years after Abacha's death, a Swiss banking commission report indicted Swiss bank for failing to follow the compliance process when they allowed Abacha's family and friends access to his account and the deposit amount totaling $600 million into them. The same year, a total of more than $1 billion were found in various accounts throughout Europe. And we are on the street begging Europe and Asia to give us money. Whereas your leaders, Fulani government and the etc. and all the other leaders, even in the West, they've all helped you to ransack and to diminish your treasury. And they are going to borrow. I'm going to leave that for another day. Let us look at Abdul Salami's administration of June 1998 to May 1999. It's just a barely 11 months administration. His government was short and focused on transition to democracy. But the main corruption scandals was the major Halliburton scandal, which implicated his administration. And this might have financed his opulence. In fact, it was this that financed his opulence. Albeit, quite a huge amount of wealth was acquired by him and his inner circle in such a short period. Abdul Salami lives in quite an exquisite mansion of his own, and his building is very close to IBB's. Oh my days. It's laughable. Let me shock you. Let me move down to Obasanjo administration of May 1999 to May 2007. I will shock you. Remember, during Obasanjo's administration, various corruption scandals broke out under his presidencies. They include one of the international dimensions when his vice president, then Atiku Abubakar, was caught in cahoots with a US congressman stashing cold hard cash literally in freezer. When I read these things, it made my heart bleed. It made me think there's no humanity in a black man, especially those from the Sahara region. How could you freeze money? How could you hide money in the freezer? Okay, what about the KBR and CMS bribery scandals, which was investigated by FBI and led to international indictment indicating high-level corruption in his administration? According to a report, the United States Department of Justice on January 18, 2012 announced that a Japanese construction firm, which is called Marubeni Corporation, agreed to pay a 54.6 million criminal penalty for allegedly bribing officials of the Nigerian government to facilitate the award of the $6 billion liquefied natural gas contract in Bonny, Nigeria, to a multinational consortium, TSKJ. They paid bribes to Nigerian government officials between 1995 to 2004. See, it's a shame, and people are proud to call themselves one Nigeria. You should be ashamed of your intellectual capacity. Let me shock you again. What about Transcorp shares scandals that violated the Code of Conduct standards for public affairs under Obasanjo's watch? What about the presidential library donations at the eve of Obasanjo's exit from power that he used to pressure associates to donate fund to the presidential library because he is his own? What about Obasanjo's bribing legislators to alter the constitution so that he can get a third term? Oh, but unfortunately, His plot and campaign failed. Wicked politicians, wicked generation. Let me move down to Umaru Musa Yar'Adua administration of May 27 to May 2010. Some of you believed that he's a statesman. That's okay. But I will shock you with the things that he did. His administration was short though, but he lacks political will, as a fair number of corruption scandals from Obasanjo's administration that came to light to his administration went uninvestigated. You were wondering why? I'll tell you. Because some of them were ex-governors that made him the president. Yar'Adua various acts of political corruption using the Attorney General Michael Ondoaka to frustrate ongoing local and international investigation of his powerful friends like Governor James Ibori, Lucky Bunedium, and Peter Obi, who helped him to win election in 2007. Yar'Adua shielded Ibori, who stole about $165 million of Delta State Treasury from being convicted in Nigeria. He protected him silently so that nobody can convict him in Nigeria. But let me shock you. Albeit, the UK government nabbed and convicted him on 10 counts of fraud with a total of nearly 50 million in 2012 in the UK. There was a WikiLeaks document that revealed that the Supreme Court justices in Nigeria were bribed to legitimize the corrupt election that saw to Yar'Adua's emergence as president through massive rigging. You don't know what you are in. I'm taking my time to give you this in chronological order so you can lay hands on them. Take your time with me. You take out any place that you want to discuss with them, cut it out, cut this voice note out and give it to them. Let's go to Goodluck Jonathan administration of 2010 to 2015. The government of Goodluck Jonathan had several running scandals. They include a lot, but I will share a few with you. NNPC unremitted $20 billion in oil revenues owed to the state. Jonathan dismissed this and replaced Sanusi for that. What about the BMW purchase by his aviation minister to the tune of 255 million naira? Gone out of wind. Security contract militants in the Niger Delta, out of wind. No investigation, no accountability. What about massive corruption and kickbacks in the Ministry of Petroleum? I share with you this. The Malabo Oil International scandal. What about that? And several scandals involving the petroleum minister. Broke out of the central bank scandals of cash stripping of mutilated notes, where it was revealed that it is 4-day period, 8 billion naira was stolen directly from low-level workers in NNPC. Hi! This is why we resist. I'm coming. Let me share with you others. The same Yar'Adua. There were the same Goodluck Jonathan administration. There were 2.2 billion illegally withdrawn from SS crude oil accounts, of which $1 billion supposedly approved by President Jonathan to fund his re-election campaign without the knowledge of the National Economic Council. What about NEITI that discovered 11.6 billion, which was found mixing from Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas Company dividend payment? What about 60 million barrels of oil valued 13.7 billion was stolen under the watch of the National Oil Company, Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation from 2009 to 2002. When I read these things, it bleeds my heart. What about NEITI indicate losses due to the crude swaps due to subsidy and domestic crude allocation from 2005 to 2012 indicated that 11.6 billion had been paid to NNPC, but there is no evidence of the money being remitted to the federal account. What about diversion of 60% of $1 billion foreign loans obtained from the Chinese by the Ministry of Finance? There were massive scandal in weapons and defense procurement and misuse of 3 trillion naira defense budget since 2011 under the guise of fighting Boko Haram? What about diversion of 2.2 million vaccination medicine fund by Ministry of Health? Diversion of Ebola fight fund up to 1.9 billion naira. What about that? NDDC scams and multifarious scams, including 2.7 billion naira worth of contract that do not come. Pardon me. These and many more are the scandals you witnessed during Goodluck Ebele Jonathan administration. Let's now narrow this down to the current administration of Muhammadu Buhari of 2015 to present. Where do we start with this regime? We must start from somewhere, at least. First, Senator Shehu Sani indicated the then Senator Shehu Sani indicted the then Secretary of the Government of Federation, Mr. Babachi Alawa, in a 200 million contract scandal for the clearing of invasive plant species in Yobe State by Rolavision Nigeria Limited, a company he owns. Can you imagine that? He voted 200 million to his company and says he uses it to do what? To clear invasive plant. Isochalfifia, no Nibo. Buhari Chief of Staff Abba Kyari took 500 million naira bribe from MTN to help MTN slash the $5 billion fine stamped against them for violation of Nigerian telecommunication regulations bordering on national security. Abba Kyari was left intact in his position as Chief of Staff. What about Abdurrashid Maina? He was the head of the task force on pension reforms during the President Goodluck Jonathan administration. Fled Nigeria in 2015 after claims that he embezzled 2 billion naira. That is $5.6 million. Even though as an Interpol arrest warrant was issued, he still managed to return to Nigeria, where he enjoys protection from the administration government. Even though, yes, Interpol had an arrest warrant, but he ran to Nigeria and he got protection by Buhari administration. What about Senate Committee Public Accounts claim on the non-submission of EFCC account report and 48 orders where it's pathetic. In December 2019, the country's controversial ex-Attorney General Mohammed Adoke was accused of being bribed to grant oil licenses to Shell, was extradited back to Nigeria from Dubai and was immediately rearrested, but nothing has been done to convict him. Nigeria's arms gate scandals that broke in 2015 when a government appointed independent investigation revealed a series of arms deals in which Ministry of Defense funds were transferred to private accounts and no arms were procured. That is Nigeria's zoo for you. Animal kingdom for you. Okay, continue. Rather than calling these ideas corruption, the military, they are more accurately classifying it as theft and stealing. Let me shock you. From a report published in World Peace Foundation titled Nigeria's Arms Gate Scandal of 19 billion contract awarded, 2.5 billion worth of failed contract. That is contract for which no goods and services were delivered, occurred between 2017 and 2015. Even presently, it continues. In August 2015, an independent report by the Natural Resource Government Initiative estimated as much as 32 billion was lost to corruption during the 6 years administration of former President Goodluck. That's well over 18.2 trillion in naira if converted to $1, 570 naira. Corruption is a constant phenomenon in Nigeria, and it gets worse as the year goes by, I'm afraid. So now, advocates of one Nigeria will continue to deepen. If we continue to deepen it like a prevalent pandemic. So what I mean here is that anybody who is advocating for one Nigeria will help to deepen this prevalent pandemic that has no vaccine into the veins of Nigerian people. You can see why we resist. You can see why we do what we do. You can see why Nnamdi Kanu agitate. You can see why IPOB is fighting for freedom. Because what we have seen, the one Nigerianist will not say it. When they ask you, tell them that's why we want freedom. That's why we want to restore Biafra, to restore Biafra nation by any means necessary. This is to enable us to build a brand new nation where political office holders can be held to account, where public service will be a clarion call to serve the nation, and not a privilege of loot, and not a privilege to loot. When they ask you, tell them this is why we agitate, this is why we fight for Biafra, this is why we want to enlighten them. So they will join hand to break this monstrous, this cancerous nation, this cancerous country called Nigeria. So that everyone, even including Fulani people, may be saved. We want to save everybody. So don't feel shy when you engage them in an argument. Share these thoughts, share these reasons with them, and they will never argue with you anymore. There are more other reasons. But on this episode, I have chosen to just give you 7 that you can work with. And I hope you can use them. Make sure you share this video. Share this video with everyone around you. Show them why we want Biafra. Intellectually, we want to engage them. And use this to pass our message to them. Hear me and hear me loud. Biafra must come. Onyendumazu Nnamdi Kanu has set the pace. There are many of us who are coming, and many that are coming are more dangerous than you would see or you would know. Thank you for taking time to listen to my voice tonight. Make sure you share this message. Let it go viral so that Nigerian media elite will know why we resist and why we fight for Biafran freedom to come. Thank you. And on this note, have a wonderful evening until I come your way again. Have a great day.